To Talking Real Estate with Champions Real Estate Team here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wehner II, team leader here, and we jump on here every Wednesday. We talk about real estate, what's gone on in the real estate market in the last 7 days, and just kind of goes back and forth. And joining me today is Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage. He'll kind of give us the mortgage rundown over the last week. I know we had a lot of hot button items with the 0.5% drop in the federal funds rate. What does that really imply on the mortgage side? We'll kind of get into that. Here everyone's, oh, the rates are dropping. Well, does that affect mortgage rates, and that sort. So our quick tip today, is basically kind of going alongside with the mortgage side is kind of that pre-approval process and getting your purchasing power determined. This time of year, I get a lot of phone calls, referrals from past clients and, hey, my friend's thinking about buying a house, but they're going to wait till next spring. What should they do? They'll wait till spring to call. I'm like, well, I just always ask, hey, can I have your permission to reach out to them or let them know? And, I reach out to them and say, hey, let's get a game plan together, and see where you're at, put them in contact with somebody like Russ Williams at Williams Mortgage and just determine what their purchasing power, what's the initial investment that they're going to need, and they got the winter months to kind of figure that out. But sometimes it's just having that discussion with the prospective buyers of what does it all entail to buy a house? Does it make sense to buy a house now? Oh, hey, my lease is going to be up next spring. Well, what does it take to maybe potentially get out of that lease early? And does that make sense to maybe break a lease, pay an extra month to save a little bit money on the purchase price of that house than waiting till spring coming up? Because I know we talked about the federal funds rate and that stuff, and the things I've been listening to on podcasts and just talking about rates, where they're going to be. They feel that they're going to be improving over the next 6 months to a year potentially. We don't have a crystal ball, obviously, in that regards. But that's something, as those rates improve, more buyers enter the market, more, that may put more upward pressure, on house prices. So getting that pre-approval letter, seeing where you're at, getting comfortable, in that, and knowing that, hey, if rates go up or down by, 1%, it can affect your purchasing power by about 10%. So there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle, and that's what we say here is, the value of working with an agent here at Champions Real Estate Team or myself, is just to get that information in your hands so you can make that decision. And you're not all of a sudden, hey, it comes springtime. Oh, we want to get in the market. We got to do this. Oh, we should have done this, 6 months ago. Because I have had that conversation with a lot of clients that they don't reach out or never knew they were going to reach out, and they wait till that springtime to jump in the market. And, and they're like, oh man, we thought about reaching out to you in the fall, but we got holidays and that kind of stuff. Well, that's what everyone else is thinking. So if you can get your hat in the ringer, and if the right house comes up, great. If not, then let's wait, that type of thing. So, but the biggest thing that there's going to be, in your benefit is that knowledge. Knowledge is power. So knowing what your steps are to buying a house in today's market and that sort. So, I mean, we're here to help and go through all that information with you. But let's jump in, see what's going on in the real estate market today over the last 7 days. Let me share the graphics here just from a numbers sake. So basically, we had 607 new listings go live over the last 7 days. We had 350 new contracts written. So we're about half. It's not really one in, one out. It's about half in and out, in that side of it. So, that activity slowed down a little bit, which is typical this time of year, especially in an election year cycle. This would be a fourth year after being being in real estate for 16 years. It's my fourth presidential election. Very typical. Everyone's kind of, well, what's going to happen? I don't know, and the world's going to end on whoever gets in the office and, all that kind of fun stuff. But it's like, the world's going to keep moving. People are going to keep buying and selling houses, and people got to have a place to live. So the number of sold homes in the last 7 days, 315. So we're still seeing, there's still some good activity out there. Not as crazy, not as that one in, one out, which we typically see in that spring, summer marketplace. But still, it's a good opportunity to get out there. And take a look at houses. So let's take a look at the 30,000 foot view. If those that are regular viewers, this graphic doesn't change a whole lot. We had 3,459 homes in the Omaha and Lincoln MLS that are active on the market as of about noon today, about 45 minutes ago. And then we had 2,021 homes in Douglas and Sarpy County. So that number's ticking up on there. Existing homes is at 1023. New construction is just under 1,000. Months of inventory is at that 3.5. So the thing I've noticed in this last number, our average sold price, is basically stayed at that 348 probably for the last month or so. So we aren't seeing a huge uptick, on the average sold price over the last little bit. But I think that's as the market kind of steadies itself out. but I think and that's as rates have been up a little bit higher. Now they're coming down. And I think in a culmination of what, with election years, and that kind of stuff, people are still kind of waiting, which typically, if we're in May, June timeframe and the rates go from 6.5, almost 7 down to, the low 6s, even the upper 5s, depending on what your credit score is out there. So, that if that would have happened and that we would have seen a huge push of buyers, come in the marketplace, in my opinion, just because that purchasing power is better in that side, which in turn, is that supply and demand, and then you see those prices going up. But I think that's where we're at right now. But that's kind of my tidbits on what's going on in the market in the last 7 days. But let's jump in as far as Russ and see what we can do for purchasing power and how that Fed decision last week, because that announcement came out, I think, just like an hour after we got off air when we did our video last week. So, but how are we doing, Russ? And rock and roll.
Doing pretty well. As you'd mentioned, about an hour after we got off last week, we did have the Fed announcement that they dropped the Fed funds rate by 0.5%. That's the short-term rate that would affect things like credit cards, student loans, auto loans. So for those of you that are needing financing for short-term loans, that will help you. Now, the mortgage market had already adjusted and was expecting that something like that would happen. And so as a result, we actually saw mortgage rates move up, believe it or not, just a little bit on Wednesday afternoon of last week after the Fed announcement. And that was primarily because of some of the rhetoric that the Fed said in their post announcement press conference. Now, the reason why it works like this is the bond market is what drives mortgage rates, and the bond market is not directly controlled by the Federal Reserve Bank. So for many months, we've been talking here that at some point in time, the Fed is going to drop rates, and they did do it last week. And so since we've been talking about it, everybody else has been talking about it too. The markets had already adjusted, and that's why we didn't see rates for mortgages come down. Now, to Mark's point, we do expect that we could see some improvement as the fall continues and into next year. It's really going to depend upon just what happens with the jobs market and just what happens with inflation. Most of the Fed governors think inflation is moving towards their target of 2%. And if that continues, that's a good thing for mortgage rates. Inflation is bad, not only for mortgage rates, but also for the price of groceries. But deflation or a flat market is good for mortgage rates. The other piece that I'd mention is the jobs market. We've had 2 consecutive months where the non-farm payroll report, which comes out the first Friday of every month, and so that'll be out here next, a week from now, I guess, a little over a week from now. That has been a major market mover, and that's another thing that the Fed watches closely. If we see another weak jobs report, we might see some improvement in mortgage rates. So we'll watch this as the year continues on. Having said that, though, for those of you that are on the fence, Market alluded to it just a moment ago. When we hit the spring market, people come out of the woodwork wanting to buy homes. And with interest rates down, as we expect them to be in the spring, that's likely to mean that you're going to have more competition. So I encourage you to get a hold of Mark and his team now to buy at today's price, at today's rates, versus buying next year at next year's prices and next year's rates. We can always refinance that loan for you. You're likely to recognize, in many cases, more appreciation in the home between now and spring than what it would cost you to refinance, but you won't owe any more. So I encourage you to consider that.
Yeah, so we'd love to help you, get you in touch with Russ himself, and literally just get a game plan. I think that's the biggest thing is make sure that you know exactly what you're doing when you're buying. We sit down with you, I kind of go over a buyer presentation with you, just kind of a whole gamut, go over kind of the documents that we use, so you are well informed as a buyer to go out in the marketplace and know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the tools that we have in our toolbox here at Champions Real Estate Team, to get you that house. Most buyers say, oh, I can find the house. Yeah, you can get on Zillow, you can get on, our championsrealestateteam.com website, find the houses, but it's getting you to the table and getting you to that house, getting that closing and getting for that right price from a buyer's perspective. So, yeah, we're happy to help. As we go into the fall months here, but this is a lot of time where you kind of sit down and you kind of have those end of the year reviews on where we're at, what are our goals for next year, and buying a house next year is one of those goals. We'd love to sit down and chat with you. If you got a house to sell, now is the time. I just got with the phone with a client right before I jumped on here about getting their house ready to rock and roll this fall, even into the winter, and saying, all right, what do we need to do? I've met with them. I've been over to their house a couple of times already, and like, hey, we've done this. Okay, what else we need to do? Hey, we need have them come back, have the stagers come back, and get that house ready to go, rather than you call us and say, oh, we want to get a house on the market by the end of the month, and it's we could do that absolutely, but we try to relieve as much of that stressfulness of part of the home buying and selling process, is to have a good game plan, and have an end goal of where you want to be, when you want to be there, and just kind of work back from that. And so I think that's the biggest thing is, we want to take care of you, build that relationship with you over that time frame so that we have a good cohesive, team in place, with you being part of that team to get everything done, with the services we offer, getting the house clean, getting the stagers there, all that kind of fun stuff, those are all a little part of the process. But yeah, happy to chat with you. Number down here, 672-7670, or give us a holler, 290-8936. And we'll see everybody next week, and have a great rest of the week. And